There's a phrase that gets repeated constantly in the dog world: preservation breeding. It sounds responsible. It sounds noble. It suggests someone standing guard over a breed's future. But when you slow down and examine how the term is sometimes practiced, a contradiction starts to appear. In certain circles, what's labeled preservation can look less like stewardship and more like control. Most purebred dogs already exist within closed registries. Once that registry is sealed, no new genetic material enters the population. From that point forward, the long-term health of the breed depends entirely on how responsibly the existing gene pool is managed. That's a fragile structure by default. It requires planning, transparency, and cooperation across multiple kennels and generations. Now add popular sire syndrome, the repeated use of the same fashionable males because they win shows, hold titles, or carry social prestige. The outcome is predictable. Genetic diversity narrows. Recessive diseases surface more often. Lines that once had variation begin to share the same vulnerabilities. On the surface, the breed can appear uniform and impressive. Underneath, it becomes brittle. This is where the contradiction emerges. Some breeders who identify as preservationists also refuse to sell breeding rights, tightly restrict access to their lines, and effectively lock genetics behind closed doors. At first glance, that can sound responsible. Fewer litters, tighter control, less overproduction. But motive matters. Is the restriction about protecting health and temperament, or is it about exclusivity and market leverage? Those are not the same thing. When bloodlines are hoarded instead of responsibly circulated, long-term consequences begin to form. New, competent breeders struggle to gain access to quality stock, which means the next generation of capable stewards never fully develops. Corrective breeding becomes limited because pairing options shrink. Innovation slows. The breed becomes socially insular and genetically narrow at the same time. Ironically, the practice marketed as protection can accelerate the very bottleneck it claims to prevent. There's also an economic layer that rarely gets discussed openly. Scarcity increases perceived value. Perceived value increases demand. Demand increases status. When breeding rights are universally denied, a bloodline can become more of a brand than a genetic resource. The language used is often about ethics and responsibility, but the behavior can resemble luxury market exclusivity more than population management. That doesn't mean every breeder who withholds rights is acting in bad faith. Selectivity can be legitimate. The issue arises when restriction becomes absolute and self-serving rather than conditional and strategic. So the real question becomes, what does genuine preservation actually look like? If it isn't hoarding, what is it? True preservation isn't about locking genetics away. It's about maintaining genetic elasticity while enforcing standards. It means sharing bloodlines with accountability attached. It means mentorship instead of gatekeeping. It means tracking coefficients of inbreeding and kinship rather than relying solely on pedigree prestige or show titles. It also means transparent health testing, including failures, because silence about problems doesn't remove them. It only delays their impact. Another question worth asking is whether the community is preparing successors. A breed doesn't survive because one kennel holds a strong line. It survives because multiple competent breeders understand how to steward it. Distributed responsibility creates resilience. Centralized control creates fragility. A healthy breed population behaves more like a managed ecosystem than a private collection. Diversity circulates, but it circulates with standards and oversight, not recklessness. None of this argues for uncontrolled breeding or careless distribution of rights. The point is balance. Conditional breeding agreements, co-ownerships tied to health and performance metrics, mentorship programs, and transparent evaluation systems allow genetics to move responsibly rather than stagnate. Preservation isn't passive. It's an active, ongoing process that requires collaboration and long-term thinking. It's not a title someone claims. It's a practice demonstrated over time. In the end, the health of a breed isn't determined by how tightly its genetics are guarded. It's determined by how intelligently they're managed. Breeds decline through monopoly, ego, and stagnation. They survive through circulation, accountability, and cooperation. The word preservation only has meaning if the practices behind it expand a breed's future rather than quietly narrowing it.